Hi, Amy.
Happy.
We just watched Before the 90 Days, Season 8, Episode 7.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
just a lot of conflict again. Some difficult moments. Some really, I want to use the word sad, but I don't think that's the appropriate word to use. What were your thoughts?
I found it somewhat dark. I'm finding the whole season a bit depressing. I am creeped out. The creepy vibes are creeping.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yep.
So let's do our 1 and 2, and then we can dive into this delicious snack that is not so delicious. 1 and 2. 1, rate, review, and follow us wherever you listen to the podcast. 2, watch us on YouTube at 90 Day Fiancé. Honestly, and now we may begin.
I'd like to go back to your suggestion of a delicious snack. I'm kidding.
Now is not the time.
We just get into this. Okay. So again, we have another sexually charged episode, or at least begins sexually charged.
Start with Lisa and Daniel. So what did you find about this discussion?
I thought that the description of their sex was gross, and the fact that after they've had sex, I think this is first or second time, that she has to get the approval from his uncle after before they can actually get engaged. And she thought that he would have obtained the permission before he had proposed. Okay. Anyway,
Morning. If they wake up, what did you think?
gross,
Oh, yeah. Ditto.
uncomfortable,
Yes.
insincere.
On whose part? Both?
I think mostly his. Maybe begrudging is a better word. It's not like either one of them are just glowing from having made love all night and just really enjoying each other's company. She's more like feeding off of him, and he's doing a task only for the purposes of the end result, which is not the finality in the coitus, but he wants the green card.
Okay, that was a lot of words. I don't think I followed very many of them.
Sorry.
It's been a long day. Okay.
I'm
Where I stood with this is that her talking about how the night before he didn't live up to her standards of performance.
Okay, I probably should have wrote that.
Then the way it was, a little too much detail, but I was like, okay, well, where are you taking this? But then she seemed to be completely internalizing all of that lack of performance as her own lack of beauty, attractiveness, interests, all of the things, because she seems to have zero self-esteem and she looks entirely to her partner for reassurance, security,
fulfillment.
Yeah, for that acceptance and all of the things that make you feel good about yourself. She doesn't have that capacity to do it within herself. So she needs Daniel to do it for her. And this is so dangerous because it means he has a huge amount of control over her emotions and over what she does, which is why he was able to persuade her to get engaged the moment she stepped off the plane, even though that was really not the plan, at least from her daughter's perspective. The details of this discussion about how their bodies fit or did not fit together, no, shut up, please.
I couldn't believe that I'd heard that. And I've said this time and time again, like, I am not a prude.
No, but these are their private moments. We don't need a window into this level of detail of the intimacy that they shared together that should be private and special between the two of them.
I think I mentioned this on last week's episode that it almost seems like they're trying to do some sort of like shock value with the amount of sexual information that they're exhibiting on this show. It took me a second to figure out.
Sound like two words.
The sexual. Yeah, it's been a lot. I don't think we've ever had a show that's been this
gross,
but like in a sexual sense.
Mm-hmm.
We've had many gross episodes, but like these, they continue to happen. And I really wonder if they had randomly hired like a 19-year-old nepotism intern who is now like, I want to do this. Like, well, that's gross. Can you just not? Just watching the ratings, I can't imagine that the ratings are higher for those episodes that are a lot more sexually charged, and not just a lot, but like this is like to a gross level. I went
Mhm.
on a rant there.
No, that's all good. I agree. And shall we move on to when they go to the market? First, I had a sort of a flashback to the original crazy chicken lady, Renee. Remember way back when?
Oh,
Her and
how,
Chitty and all the chickens.
how can you
Uh,
forget? Because they're all friends, despite the fact that she eats chicken.
right.
Can't
This is
anyway.
where we get the bomb dropped on Lisa that the uncle is ultimately the person who needs to provide his blessing or approval for the couple to get married, even though the two of them are grown as adults. Should be able to make this choice by themselves. Well, whatever. Also, before that point, I should have said there is not supposed to be a wedding as promised to Faith. So why are we talking about this anyway?
Well, I think it's because Lisa is just stuck on this inevitable cycle of loneliness and love bombing and hurt, pain, and it's just what she's used to. So she's going to continue to continue on with that path, despite her very intelligent daughter, supporting
Yeah.
her and also vocalizing her issues with it, her hurt, her trauma, and Lisa just continues to do what she does. Okay, fine.
I wondered if Daniel wasn't doing all of these things, like getting her to try on the clothes and then talking about the uncle and the blessing as a means to further pressure her into the reality or the eventuality of them getting married, of making that commitment. Because if he leads her down the path far enough, maybe she'll feel like she can't escape and that she has to go through with it.
Well,
And then he's reached his objective, which is to get to the States.
I think it all just piles into the same pot. It's all just him being super manipulative, super controlling, love bombing to
Yeah.
get her to trust him and to believe in the fact that, he wants to be with her and it's not just for the green card, but just, I don't think he plays it too well at all, especially because we've seen this played out so many different times by different characters. And yet I think that she is cognitively limited enough that she's going to fall for it. And it's already gotten to this point.
Yeah.
I,
But what I'm trying to say is that like he's doing things in such quick succession. It's the day after she arrived and already he's saying, "Okay, we have to go and get my uncle's approval for the wedding and that's going to happen tomorrow. So let's go get the not the wedding clothes, but the pre-wedding clothes
I see what
now."
you're saying.
And
Okay.
it's like bang, bang, so fast. Everything's happening. She doesn't have time to step away from that and consider what's happening or to say, hey, slow down a little bit. Let's just spend some time getting to know each other first and hang out. There is no opportunity.
And I don't think that even if there was, she would take it. I think she's so invested and so enamored in this relationship and the idealism of what she thinks it is or the fantasy that she's willing to do whatever he wants to do to keep it moving because the last thing that she wants or needs is to feel rejected yet again. She needs
Right.
someone to be the safety net for when she has to inevitably officially divorce her ex and she can't stand to be alone, or at least that's what I'm getting. So it makes her feel more comfortable to have someone else who is in the line to marry her as opposed to her being single for any amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. She's definitely on that track, that pattern of repeating the same addiction to love, the same very quick falling into love and becoming attached to somebody, getting engaged, married, and so on. But she does seem to be aware that there are red flags. She does mention Daniel is controlling. He tries to control this aspect of her or that aspect, the alcohol, the vaping, the history of being with women before, all of this stuff she recognizes as not good, not positive for their relationship and indicative of him needing to control her.
So she's smart enough to call that out and yet still allows it to happen. And I found this very sad because I think it's one of those situations where you know that your patterns haven't been the healthiest, and yet you just can't break out of them because your hope for the end goal is just, it's so much bigger than the quantity or magnitude of the red flags that should be preventing you from entering into this next step of your life. Yeah, I think her main goal is just so much bigger than any of the red flags.
Let's talk about the restaurant scene. This was highly, highly interesting and somewhat upsetting. He's insistent. She has to learn his language, learn his culture. And she has done her own research. She's done a little bit of looking into what the food is and how to make it, how to eat it. But the way that he speaks to her and acts towards her at the meal is completely obnoxious. And the way that he stuck his fingers in her bowl of soup to show her how he wanted her to eat it was grotesque, rude, demeaning. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So when she first mentioned that she was going to be visiting him, she did confess, I think it was her, that she hadn't done any research into the food. And because she said that she's never, it was either her or Laura.
Well, Lisa said she'd done research into the fufu, so she has done some research.
What I loved about this scene was when she said, I have nails and I know the amount of germs that can accumulate under them. Anyway, she talked about the germs. It was like, can you please sit down, Madeline, and talk to her about that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like she needs it. But I also think at the same time that, you know, Lisa's descriptions were so overly sexual. Her thinking that he wants her to like suck all the little bits out of her fingernails. It felt so gross. And like I was just exposed to something that I didn't want to be exposed to. And his aggression towards her as he's trying to quote unquote correct her with the way that she's eating the food made me, as a viewer, made me feel so small. I don't know how I would have done in that situation. You know, I've done all this research as Lisa had purported to, and she still can't, like, you can't appreciate the fact that she looked into that, you know, she's making an effort. And no, everything that she does is wrong and she's going to have to fix it. And that makes me feel really sad for her.
The way that he comes across during this meal is parental, is patriarchal. He's infantilizing her. It's almost like he's punishing her. She's done it wrong and she should know better. But of course, she shouldn't know better. This is her first introduction in real terms to his culture, his food, and how to appropriately go about eating it. So, yeah, his lack of understanding or compassion towards her, or even just making it into a lighthearted situation and joking about it with her.
No amusement in any capacity. Just
that, yeah. Just you're in trouble and I'm the man. I'm going to tell you how to do this. Disturbing for me, but I did appreciate it very much when she got up and walked out of the restaurant and told him, "Watch me walk out."
Well, and
because
he
told her
said
to
that
get up.
she was drunk, even though she had a sip of the palm wine. And obviously he knows all the things that has to do with intoxication, especially with her very specific body and metabolism and quantity of consumption. He is an absolute expert. But yeah, get up and walk and let me see how you walk. And I share the appreciation with you that she just walked out. She didn't deserve that.
No, she didn't deserve that. I wish she'd gone further. I wish she'd gone back to the hotel. I wish she just ditched him then and there, because it's very clear he's full of lies. He's full of all of these false compliments to try to win her back. And it reminds me of later on in the episode when we see Birkan doing exactly the same thing to Laura. It's so insidious. It's so gross. It's so manipulative. And the way that he even changed his story for like when they were sitting across the table from one another and he waved his face in her hand, he was like, "Oh, I'm checking to see if you're drunk," which was absolutely absurd. She'd only had a sip. But
Oh,
then outside, he said, "Oh, I was checking to see if you were asleep because maybe you were asleep. This is one of the effects of the palm wine." Excuse me? She had like a teaspoon. Oh, but some people, you can't handle it. Just give me a frickin' break. This guy is so high on his high horse. It's freaking annoying.
and we also continue to see it as we continue to watch them because even he says, do you want to go back inside? She's like, maybe. And he's like, are you going to be nice?
Hmm.
Oh, okay. I, and I was kind of surprised that she actually agreed to go back inside because I feel like that would have just been so embarrassing.
Yeah.
You're as someone who has worked in the service industry for a very long time, in and out, I've seen this quite a bit, and it never ends well. The amount of tension and resentment that you feel towards that person for making you sit down again or for playing the nicey nicey and to just ignore
Yeah.
the entire situation that led up to this was so uncomfortable to watch. I never relished in that at all. So I could only imagine how it felt for her to walk back in there, him to feel like he's on his high steed or whatever that term is, and then to sit there and be served.
Yes. But on top of which, he then goes on to say that in his family, there are no lies. You, great. Lovely hypocrisy. We know he's been lying to her. He has lied. He will lie. He is lying. It's nothing but lies. But in his family, they only say the truth. Sure. We'll see.
Again, we have another 90-day participant who picks and chooses what they want to exhibit within their own religions. There we go. You pick and choose what you want to follow, and then you pick and choose what you want your partner to follow. And he made it so much worse. It's like, yes, I'm a
Yeah.
Christian. Well, do you do this? Do you? My God, should you have to? So my question is, should you have to follow 100% of the prescribed requirements of your religion before you can say that you practice that religion? I feel like this is like over and above our lack of pay grade.
Oh, absolutely. And we've talked about this before, that it's fine if you want to do it 100% the way you choose to interpret whatever the rules are, or if you choose to do it 75, 50%, I don't care. But once you start talking to other people as if they have to do the same and impose your thoughts on them and judge them by how much they do not live up to your standard, that is where I draw the line. I say, no, no, no. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
As you say this, it reminds me of boundaries. Realistically, your boundaries exist for you alone. If you're
Mhm.
going to be projecting your boundaries on someone else, that's your own damn problem.
Yep. Let us read on to
Sorry, I
Forrest
love
and Sheena. They finally get to meet Sheena's parents. Well, sort of. It's not the parents, it's a parent and a sister because mom is sick. And these are what Forrest has come to know as the scary, evil parents who abuse Sheena, take advantage of Sheena, allegedly.
I found their first interaction to be so incredibly uncomfortable. I wanted to throw myself out the window and tell Forrest to go home. I was I was joking. I thought that they were
Okay.
so welcoming. I thought it was such a beautiful interaction. You could see how uncomfortable he was. I thought that they were so welcoming and almost gracious that he was there. I was being completely and utterly sarcastic. It wasn't that bad at all. I think Forrest just walked into it with this idealism of what she had allegedly sold to him. And at this point, I'm side eyeing her. Sheena, what did she tell him? to make him believe that her parents are that way? Was it just her words, or was she actually trying to mislead him in, I guess, her investment with her family's financial situation?
We have no idea what Sheena has told Forrest, except what he hints at that he knows about the parents, which is why I said at the beginning that these are supposedly the evil, abusive, manipulative parents. They do
Mm.
not seem to be, or the family does not seem to be that. Who knows? The sick mother may be horrible. We have no clue. We don't see her. We don't know anything about her either. All we know is what we see, and what we see is this sprawling, beautiful property with a pool, which is a guest house or a B&B, but a very, very large one. Many rooms, obviously. There's tables set up which look like they can accommodate dozens of people for the meals. So where is the reality? What is actually going on? And Forrest deservedly is asking himself, what is true? What has Sheena told me that is real? What is not? He's heard so many negative things about the parents. He's got this idea that he has to rescue Sheena from the parents. He's been told that the money that Sheena had to give to them, which was her own, was for fixing the house or fixing the roof, or fixing this or that. The house seems to be completely impeccable. Has Sheena dug herself into a hole from which she cannot escape? And why is she lying about her family?
And what is she lying about? Like, perhaps they did need to fix up the roof, or, whatever reason that they may have needed that money for. Or maybe she's actually a shareholder.
Mhm.
Maybe it makes more
Sense?
financial sense, thank you, to continue to invest in her parents' property.
Mhm.
The place looked incredible, but, like, to see how much they've accomplished in the Philippines looked incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never been, but like, I was so impressed with what her parents have been able to build, and then it made me really wonder, like, what is she hiding? What are these secrets? Where's the money going to? Again, with the roof or something. Like, I don't know, but as you said, the place looks utterly pristine.
We only have people like David and Sheila to compare this family's living situation to. And Sheila's family lived in a very rundown, very poor area. I mean, the roof was terrible. The house itself was very ramshackle. So that's the kind of thing that we've come to expect from these couples. And yet, this is a very, very different circumstance. So
Definitely.
I don't know what's going on. Doesn't seem like anybody knows what's going on. But what I can tell you is that when they all sit down to dinner and they have a nice discussion together about who Forrest is and what he was expecting and how things are going, he admits that Molly, his mom, believes that Sheena's family is trying to scam him. And that moment for me was so telling, because I think anybody confronted with that kind of accusation would be kind of upset and would be very defensive and say, what does this person know anything about us in order to make this kind of judgment? And who is she? And could even go ahead and kick you out. Who knows? But their reaction is so lovely to say to Forrest, well, we'll prove her wrong when she comes. Delivered with a smile and with absolutely no feeling of being angry with him or having any animosity. It was just like so calm and pleasantly delivered. Wow. I, that to me indicates the family is A-okay. It's some
I I felt like the entire interaction that we had seen this episode was just so beautiful and so, I mean, awkward, as these situations typically are, but there was no actual conflict. It was just conversation. There was no deflecting, there was no blaming. There was no nothing. It was just, I can hear what you're trying to tell me, and we look forward to alleviating the situation later. Like, again, like, thank you for telling us that your parents might think this way of us, and we would be happy to prove them wrong. As opposed to it being, you're a jerk. You probably shouldn't have said anything. We have things to hide. Like, it just, anyway, it felt beautiful and organic. And I can really see where Sheena gets her personality and easygoingness from, because her parents just seem so chill.
And it got even better from my perspective, learning about this family of Sheena's. When they started asking Forrest about his job, he mentions he's on disability, he's unemployed, and he doesn't make enough money to support a family, but he says he will get a job at some point. And then he asks for a blessing. Well, at this point, again, you would think the dad would have every right to say, actually, no, because you need to have a job. You need to be in a position where I know you can look after my daughter well,
Yeah,
rather than right now. But he doesn't. He doesn't hold that against Forrest. He doesn't admonish him for not having a job. It's just, okay, so you are going to get a job. Okay, well, make sure that you have money to make things happen eventually. And yeah, you've got my blessing, which really surprised me.
me too. Me too. And then I also wondered, given this information that we have now, given the scene that we had just seen, what's going to happen when Molly walks into it? How much conversation is Forrest going to be able to have with his communication? Is he going to have with his mom beforehand? Is production going to prevent any kind of conversations so that Molly shows up and doesn't have any idea what happened the night before? Or are they going to somehow spin it so it's so much worse than what it was? But I mean, I want to say that it was like the best possible outcome for Forrest. I thought that was it was so beautiful.
There was only one little caution that I had in Dad when he was talking about all of this. It's clear that he sees Sheena as a source of income for the family. But again, it's cultural. We know that in
Yeah.
Philippine culture, the eldest daughter looks after the parents. She looks after the other children, if there are any. We've seen this over and over again in many, many families on the show.
It's not just the eldest daughter, it's the eldest child. And I feel
Okay.
like that indebtedness is built into both of the eldest
Okay.
from
But
that
he
grant.
wants to make sure that Sheena will still be providing her support to the family in terms of finances when she gets married to Forrest, and that Forrest understands that this is still an obligation that Sheena has. So there is that slight caution, but I will reiterate it is cultural, so it doesn't really put up any red flags for me at this point.
What puts the red flags up for me is the amount of red flags that I can anticipate coming from Forrest having this conversation. You're still indebted to us. You still need to provide us with support. This is still money that you're not going to be able to have for your own life and for your own family. So I can see this as, Forrest taking it as a slight. I mean, again, we don't know what Sheena has told him. She has alluded to the fact that she's embellished and or lied about certain things, and I'm really interested to see what she has to reveal and how much that's going to impact Forrest's opinion on her parents, his attitude, and also our perspective of her parents. Like what have you done? It's all these issues, all these secrets. Why you gotta keep these secrets?
Don't know. Mysteries to be discovered. Let's read on to Aviva and Stig.
On with the mystery.
Okay, so a comment from a listener on Spotify from last week.
Yeah.
Cheryl says, no need to buy condoms. Aviva is clearly pregnant, pretty obvious in the diary interviews. Yes, that was also my opinion. And I was watching her again this week in those diary interviews when she's wearing the red floral dress. The face is definitely rounded and glowing. The belly is definitely doing something towards the protrusion level. Yeah, I fear it is too late.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all. Just because I think I missed it on the first round last week because it came out like all throughout Reddit. Like, did you not see her in her interview? Like, I didn't notice. So then I had to watch specifically last night. And 100%, she is definitely glowing. She's got a little bump. And my only reaction was, ugh.
Oh, I can't believe the way that she just continues to throw caution to the wind even though she does not know, she is not certain if this guy's being honest with her, if he is actually a good partner for her. And in truth, I think she's just letting herself be played. She's enjoying this ride, and the consequences be damned is basically her attitude.
Well, yeah, I think she's just created, again, with the narrative, she's created this own narrative of what's going to happen with them. And like, she just doesn't want, or she's not ready to accept the fact that he's not who he says he is. But the fact that she continues to have unsafe sex with him bothers me so much. You know that a child is very likely to happen if you continue doing this. Yes, because that's obviously what they want, but they don't have the forethought of like what it actually means to have a kid.
No.
He's going to be, I assume that they think that he's going to the income to be able to sustain either a stay-at-home mom or a nanny or something, and yet she doesn't even trust him at his own gig.
Problematic.
You think like this is so, like, what were they used to call 16-year-old people that would just show up to the gigs because they wanted to sleep with the bands. I forget what that's called now. But anyway, that was
Groupies? A
Are you fucking
groupie?
kidding me?
A groupie? Is that what you're thinking of? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. She asked him not to sing the song Vicky at his concert performance, whatever you want to call it. I hesitate to use the word concert because there was not a concert audience there.
But and did you see the quote unquote stage? It was like a
Yeah. Yeah. Not a stage, especially when people like patrons of the bar where it was can be up there with you. So he's in the perfect position with this relationship because the moment that Aviva asks for something that she requires from him in order to build trust and to build the relationship, like, please don't sing the song Vicky, or be honest with me, tell me the truth, and so on, he can push back and say, oh, you're being too controlling and too crazy. And that's not the kind of woman that I'm looking for, because that's all that these women that I've had in my past have done with me. Because I'm such a big star, they all get the controlling, crazy personality, and then the relationship won't work. You have to be bigger than that or better than that.
mm-hmm.
He can claim innocence for himself by simply pointing the finger at her and saying, you're being jealous, you're being controlling. And so he can escape from virtually any problem that she has with him, including, please don't sing that song because it really doesn't feel good for me.
I can understand him not wanting to not sing the song if it's one of his biggest hits, because who actually knows how big he is out there? Maybe that would be one of the big, like, I play that song and now all of a sudden I have like a 50% bump in my, what's that word? Merchandise sales, something so that people actually know who he is. And if that's a staple in his musical repertoire, why hasn't she asked who this woman was before? Why does it have to be a big deal this evening? Again, why couldn't you have had this conversation earlier? I feel for and against her at the same time. Like he was 100% on that woman in the video. She was disengaged, but again, we don't know the timeline. So was she disengaged and he was trying to flirt with this other woman because he wanted her to engage? I don't know, and I also really don't care. I thought it was just like an inconsequential issue. Like, you date a man who, if he's on stage, like you know what's gonna happen.
Exactly. Like he has the perfect excuse for everything. I have to flirt with this woman because it's my job. It's part of what I have to do, kind of like Johnny and Chloe. That's what my job is being an entertainer, flirting with women, singing to them, doing all the things. And you just have to cope with that. So this is who Aviva has chosen. Like you said, it's not all him.
I would like to know where her self-respect is, because she's had a couple issues with him recently, which have been fairly large issues, and yet she still continues to have unprotected sex with this man. Can you stop?
Clearly not. They can't. There are so many problems that come up in this episode. It's not just that he crosses her boundary. It's not that just that he goes ahead and flirts with another woman when he's on so-called stage. It's not just that she gets feeling hurt and goes to text her friends and starts ignoring him. And it's not just that he then feels like she's not paying him the proper attention. And it's not the kind of behavior that his future wife should exhibit. Excuse me?
Let
It's not
alone
just
his current girlfriend, quote unquote.
it's not just he gets so mad that he forgets the lyrics of his own songs because he's so distracted, or her asking for a foot massage and he says maybe because he's holding back all of his care for her now because he didn't get enough attention and he's a freaking diva. There's so many problems. And the worst part of all of this is that during this whole horrible sequence of events, one after another, it's implied for Aviva that there is a threat at all times to their relationship. If she gets too jealous, he will leave.
Well, again, we love those ultimatums. Okay, anyway.
Shall we read on to
Yeah.
Laura and Birkan?
Oh my God, the amount of cotton candy in this segment was so delicious.
Candy? Huh?
You didn't see it at all?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, there was a guy walking around with I want to say an 8-inch thing just filled with cotton candy. Like what you would see at the fair. I haven't had cotton candy in so long.
Okay, well, I think you have that machine, don't you?
I do.
Jeez. Okay, I know what you're doing this weekend. Laura has to have a little bit of time to process the fact that she's just learned that Birkan has got $50,000 US worth of debt. Great. She wonders, is he abusing her to get out of his debt? Yes. Thank
I
you,
think that's
Laura.
quite obvious. She starts, they get back to the apartment or Airbnb, whatever, and she brings it up again. And what does he do? But he pins her against the wall and she melts in his hands. And then they go behind closed doors. Love the fact that they went behind closed doors as opposed to someone explaining to us what had occurred. And then she says, I don't know if it was before or after him pinning her, but she said that she wasn't sure of his intentions. I hate to say it, but get your shit together.
I don't know if she can.
I don't know how she's dickmatized by this guy with this haircut, by his philosophical colloquialisms.
Colloquialisms. Yes, the crap that he spews is quite ridiculous. Okay. But when Birkan says to Laura, look, Laura, because she's wondering if she can trust him, if I wasn't trustworthy, then I wouldn't have told you about my debt. To which I just went blink, blink. Excuse me? You didn't. You waited until she came to Turkey and until you had already slept together to then give her the news. I am $50,000 in debt, and there are more secrets to come. You are not trustworthy. This does not make you trustworthy because you choose this moment when you had 17,000 quadrillion of them beforehand to tell her this fact.
Okay, well, this ties into our next couple, even though we're not going to get to them yet. Your lies are going to help support the excuses for my lies. Mm-hmm. I found this just so absolutely disgusting. I think Birkan is one of he's right up there with Muhammad from Muhammad and Danielle, and Muhammad as well with Nicole. So the first one was the evidence binder with Danielle. I think that was
Muhammad. Oh God.
And then with Nicole with the 55% attraction and you're almost there lazy.
Okay. So there are more despicable people out there, but Birkan definitely ranks among the top 5.
Oh no, he's up there. It's just the fact that he reminded me of that was it was visceral.
One of the things that she says was a lie that he told her, and she knows it's a bold-faced lie, and she's still ignoring it. This is where she was talking about the red flags are possibly pink, maybe, and I'm like, oh my God, you are deluded beyond. But he wooed her with a promise to be a provider and protector. That's what she wanted from a man, from a relationship.
Yep.
And he cannot do either one of those things. And yet she stays. And then when they're having that argument, I found it absolutely frustrating. Does not even begin to cover the emotion that I felt. But just think of
Same.
frustration and then times it by 1,000.
Yeah.
When he tries to kiss his way out of the argument, it's so childish.
Oh,
Not listening to her concerns and addressing them there and then, just smashing her face against the wall, not literally, but you know what I'm saying, and then taking her off to the bedroom. This is the biggest red flag that I've seen so far from this man.
okay. Well, when they're in their car and he mentions the stray dogs, and then he says he doesn't like dogs.
Yes. Yes.
And I said, well, we don't like you.
Yes. I said, throw him away immediately. If a man doesn't like dogs, if a person doesn't like dogs, they can.
It's the respect for animals thing. Like, I'm fine if you're not a vegetarian. I'm not one. Obviously, you are. I'm fine with that as long as it's, respectable and, it's not just, oh, I'm going to buy like 18 pounds meat and then throw out 8 pounds later on. Like, you respect the animal. You do your thing. But she said that some of the red flags might be pink. And my response was, take your rose covered glasses off, and then you might actually be able to see something. It just seems as though he knows exactly how to play her. She's friggin' textbook. And then he comes out with this gem that I don't even want to say out loud, but I'm going to. Sometimes I can suck and she can enjoy the moment.
Yep. Okay. Bye-bye. Yeah, he's just gross, gross, gross. And now we have an ultimatum as well to throw into the mix for Michael. Birkan doesn't like Michael. He tells Laura to choose him, Birkan, over Michael. Not to make a choice between the two of them, but to choose Birkan. And then he says, further to that, once they are married, he and Laura, that Michael will not be a part of their life.
Yeah. So jealous, controlling, useless, scum, grifter. Also, ultimatums don't work.
Insulting, disrespectful, awful, and dismissive. Then when he gets up and walks away from her after having delivered this ultimatum because she says, hey, I need a minute to think about all of this. I'm not sure I like where this is heading.
As you should.
Laura, you should be the one who's walking away. Get out. Holy crap. Haven't you seen enough? Jesus. Her tolerance level for wackadoodles is beyond.
Mixed up the walking away. I thought he had walked away.
He did.
Oh, okay. Then that's what I meant. She had walked away. She did not. That was Lisa. Lisa walked away.
Right. Lisa walked away. Shall we read on? Oh, dear God. Rick and Trisha, they very much like Ashley and Manuel. These two follow the Ashley and Manuel method of the bonobo theory for cooling any disagreements.
Oh my God.
Let's just mask over our problems with sex, and then we'll forget that we ever had problems. Yeah.
Thank you so much for bringing this up, because I had been wondering why there was something that I was missing from this couple. And I think it was that association. But I also feel like a number of the other couples on this episode, on this season, period, are using the same problem-solving
mechanism.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. These two are, and also Laura and Birkan, Daniel and Lisa.
They all are.
Probably.
Forrest and Sheena haven't had the conflict. They've still talked about it excessively. And Stig and Aviva.
Okay. So everybody's doing this. They go to a romantic island for a little getaway together. In the car on the way from the airport to their hotel when they get to the island, she makes a comment about she'd like him to buy her something. And then he takes that completely the wrong way, hurts her feelings tremendously by calling her bougie and making it seem as if she's trying to imply that she wants a sugar daddy and that's who he is supposed to be. And he obviously thinks he's being super funny and cute, but he comes off as a class A jerk. And we've seen this already a few times in the relationship. I I really don't think this is very healthy. Their communication style is not good.
He's so busy projecting onto her
Yeah.
all of his issues. And she's just shocked and trying to respond, not react, but to respond. But because she doesn't know the source of that projection, she doesn't really know how to respond. So she's left speechless.
Yeah.
Like often, I feel so bad for her because I feel like he's just spewing this out. She has no time for recovery.
His guilt is like bubbling up and showing up in very different and interesting ways, including making accusations towards her, denying all kinds of things about himself, keeping secrets, making cruel jokes towards her, being dismissive towards her, putting her down, sexualizing her, belittling and degrading her sexual things, proclivities, the stuff we saw last week. Just it's
Oh
so
God.
gross.
Yep.
But this is obviously all of his stuff coming up from feeling guilty, if he's capable of it, about having slept with his ex while they were still together.
But we had a Reddit sleuth that went through the film. And what actually happened was that he, like, after Trisha stopped talking to him, he reached out to his ex or they had started talking. Okay, great. And then they were planning on for him to go visit in Colombia. And then Trisha came back and they had been talking again. And he said, F it, I'm going to go anyway. So even after they had reconnected, he had gone down to Colombia to engage in coitus with his ex several times daily. So that substantially confirms the overlap of the relationship.
Yeah, it's not like there was any secret to uncover. It's just that this person transcribed exactly what Rick said in that episode, word for word, so that you could read it and it makes sense. Sometimes when you hear it, it's like, oh, is he saying he did it here or there? But when you read the words, it's very clear. So my only and one question throughout this entire segment was for Rick. When are you going to tell her? When? We know he has gone through the K-1 visa because the mother of his children came from Nigeria. He's been through this. The thing that really struck me in this whole thing was the idea that he's done this before. Now he's on to another foreign woman. We know there was at least one other one, the one in Colombia. So why is it that he's choosing these women from other countries to have relationships with? And does it have anything to do with the fact that probably some or maybe all of them really want to come to the States? And so they're settling for this guy who is not the best in order to get to the end goal, which is the US.
Well, I feel like there's like yes and no from the both sides. Like, are they trying to create this relationship with this dude? Is he trying to create the relationship with these women?
Yeah.
I don't know. Rick is such a fucking piece of shit.
He's a coward. He's a coward.
He keeps trying to, I mean, I think we talked about this last week. He kept trying to find her in some sort of a disagreement or so he could use it against her.
Yeah.
When something else, give me your phone. Give me your phone. Take my fucking phone. I haven't like he's looking for things that he can hang her on. They can't hang her on anything because she hasn't done anything wrong. And what she fails to see is that he shouldn't be asking to see that to begin with.
Yeah, the guilty conscience is playing out so strangely in him. And it's disturbing. So yeah, this week's episode was not tasty. Did not make me feel happy.
Did make me feel honest.
Ew. Yeah, it leaves me feeling a little bit dirty, quite honestly. And not especially looking forward to next week, which is the saddest part.
Well, I did write up my summary for next week, and it may or may not be good. I don't know how to say.
The show is disintegrating rapidly, and there's nothing really left to hang on to. There's no life rafts anymore. Shall we leave it there? Okay, you have the hiccups massively now, so I think we'll just end the show with that. Before we go, if you're enjoying the 90 Day Fiancé Honestly podcast, please subscribe to or give a show a follow. It really would help Amy in her quest to defeat the hiccups. And if you have an additional moment, please rate us and help other 90 Day fans to find our show. Thanks for
everyone.
listening. See you next week.